All right, let's talk Alabama Crimson Tide football for a little bit. Look, this is a program that's, look, to be totally honest, they've had a great offseason after a tumultuous start that was expected moving off of Nick Saban on to Kalen DeBoer. A little bit of volatility there. Things have obviously settled. Things have kind of stabilized. But one of the things that's so impressive for this Alabama program is after things stabilized and they made some good recruiting, transfer portal moves, things like that, they didn't just stay at that level. They built momentum and continue to climb up the ranks, not all the way back to where Saban was having them ranking in the recruiting game, but pretty darn close. Let's pull up this report and then we'll talk about it more in detail on the other side. This is from The Athletic. Alabama's June recruiting momentum is reminiscent of a few months ago when the Tide secured 6 commitments from March 2nd to March 24th. Coach Kalen DeBoer's new staff is in the middle of one of its most critical early periods, official visit season through late May, June, and they have made a strong impressions with 4 commitments through 2 weeks of hosting. The staff hosted official visitors yet again this past weekend, and 2 commitments have joined the 2025 class, punter Alex Asparoff and 3-star defensive lineman London Simmons. Their commitments bring Alabama's 2025 class to 16 members, and the class is ranked number three nationally, according to 24/7 Sports. Again, we're talking about momentum building. We're talking about Alabama very quickly returning to the top of the recruiting ranks. This is obviously a great sign for the Tide. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Alabama fans, in the comment section below, give us your favorite, really interesting question for you here. Special teams player in Alabama Crimson Tide history, a guy who made his living as a Crimson Tide football player on special teams, whether he was a kick returner exclusively, punt returner, kicker, punter, whatever it may be. Give us your favorite, the best Alabama special teams player in program history and put it in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on Alabama's continuing recruiting momentum here?
Yeah, Nick, I know who the special teams guy you don't want on the list is, and that's Cade Foster, the kick six guy from Alabama. But I think we've got the remedy here. You say number 3 in the nation as far as their class. But this is also the number 3 punter in the nation nationally, a 5-star rating for him according to Cole's Kicking, which is the authority on kicker and punter ratings. So I really like that they've got this guy, bringing him in, and also a strong defensive lineman as well, at 6'3", 305 pounds, a Mississippi native. I think this just goes to show Alabama is really getting into these early, like, official visits seasons and dominating them. Because last season, around the March time, you remember, they came out strong and got 4 big time recruits during that time. And now early on, the June period is not over yet. Still got about 2 more weeks in the June period. They've already gotten 2 guys once again. So this is showing Coach DeBoer is coming out when he has the opportunity to come out and have guys come in for official visits. They make it count. They get commitments here. Let's say they kind of, potentially repeat what they were able to do in that March cycle. If they're able to get 8 commitments already, that's a lot of guys so far. That's a heck of a recruiting class that we see from Alabama Clemson Tide. Because what I see so far, they got 8. They got about 12 guys so far in this recruiting class. If you're able to get 8 within these first 2 periods, and it's not even, you have all August, you have all fall, you have all, off season coming into this period we're in now. It really shows Alabama is on top of their recruiting game, and they're taking every opportunity and capitalizing on it. How often do you see a first-year coach come in here and really just be so sharp and so on his game recruiting-wise that any opportunity that is lended to him, he absolutely dominates. I think this is big time for Alabama. I think this just shows how seriously Coach DeBoer came in with his game plan to say, hey, I am not going to drop the ball on recruiting when I got to Alabama.
Well, it's important to understand that Alabama this offseason has been undeniably so the victim of incredible negative recruiting from their competition, as you would expect, right? Saban's gone. Every other program in the SEC and every other program competing with Alabama nationally, they're coming out and saying, listen, it's not the same team. They're not going to be nearly as good. This is not going to be a team going to the college football playoff every year anymore. They're going to get worse because Nick Saban is gone. You're bringing in a West Coast coach to Alabama. It's not going to be nearly the same thing. They're not nearly as good. That's all the talk that all these recruits are hearing all of the time. That's the reality of it, okay? And the fact that Alabama is able to beat back that sales job and do as well as they are recruiting-wise is a phenomenal sign. There's a reason it took Kirby Smart a number of years to start recruiting really well. There's a reason Mario Cristobal down in Miami, it took a few years to really start recruiting well. There's a reason Steve Sarkisian at Texas, it took a little bit of time, a year or two, to start recruiting at a high level, because when you're in a volatile environment, opposite programs viciously attack you with negative recruiting, and recruits, a lot of them balk against that, right? And they don't want to be part of that negativity. They feel like, they fall victim to the sales job, as everybody would in that situation. Not everybody, but most people would in that situation. It's a tough environment for any program. That's why a lot of volatility when teams change head coaches, 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of short-term recruiting problems before things turn around. Alabama found a way to completely avoid that, right? I was expecting, to be totally honest, Alabama to dip outside the top 10 recruiting wise. I said, okay, if they're around 10 to 15 in 2024, 10 to 15 in 2025, okay, that's solid, right? They weathered the storm. They finished second in 2024. They're third right now, early in 2025, with a lot of recruiting still to go, obviously. So not only did they avoid total disaster, which a lot of programs do, no matter how big you are. You look at USC fell into this trap, of course, famously. They're like, it didn't get worse, right? It stayed basically the same. That is absolutely redunculous, and I'm actually befuddled by how good of a job Kalen DeBoer and his staff has done, right? Maybe it's a credit to the Alabama mystique. Maybe it's the Alabama brand just so strong it can withstand that. I don't know. Maybe Kalen DeBoer is such a phenomenal recruiter. I think that's a huge part of it there, of course. But this is a program that has done something that's completely unheard of. They avoided the disaster, which most programs ran into. And not only did they stabilize, they are crushing expectations with no end in sight. This is an Alabama program. There's not going to be a dip, folks. I was expecting there to be a dip. I was going to say, okay, this is LSU, Georgia, right? Maybe Ole Miss, Texas, whoever. This is their time to shine. Doesn't seem to be the case, folks. It seems like Alabama's talent pipeline will remain as strong as it was before. And the rest of the SEC and the rest of college football, they're going to have to, again, keep fighting against this massive behemoth that they've got down in Tuscaloosa, because it's not slowing down.